Hi beautiful beings, my name is Brittany.
And I'm Connor.
And today we're going to be sharing about transitions and communication around transitions with our 17-month-old child, Ilya. If you're looking for resources to grow within your relationship, we invite you to come on over to our free membership site.
We've got videos to help you communicate, learn to love more compassionately, more openly, and we've got a lot of exercises available to you as well. So what we're talking about is anytime that Ilya is changing spaces, and what we found to be a wonderful way to help with that is to communicate, Ilya, we're going to change spaces now. A really good example is just like anytime that we're about to put them in the car seat.
Yeah.
I'll tell them like, okay, let's go to the van or let's go to the car and we're going to go to this place, wherever it is. And when we get to the van, I'll open up the door, and I'll pick them up and I'll point to the car seat and I'll say, are you ready to get in your car seat? Do you want to get in the car seat? And it wasn't always this way, but recently they turn around, they look at the car seat, and they reach their hands out for it.
Yeah.
They're ready to go.
Yeah.
So not only do they know what we're talking about, but it kind of gets them excited for what we're about to do.
And I noticed that Ilya can really sense a transition is coming. They can sense when the energy changes. And I feel like they can feel some, what I interpret as anxiety, what it sounds like from them is like, if it's not communicated about, which makes sense because it's like this thing that they're engaged in is changing. The atmosphere is changing. And I find that when we communicate about it, they're excited. They get to be privy to the information that's in our heads. So a common one for me is, Ilya, I'm gonna start packing up our things so that we can go to the Springs. And then Ilya knows, like, we're packing up the things. Maybe they're helping me pack up the things, or maybe they're still playing with the ball or whatever activity, but they're aware, okay, a transition's going on. Ilya, let's bring this stuff out to the car. Do you want to go together? Do you want to go together? Like, hold out my hand. Ilya, do you want to go to the car together to pack it up? Like, put out my arms, and they'll let me know. So just like that kind of thing, and just checking in to sort of see, this is what I'm feeling like doing. Is this what you want to do too? And usually it is. And if it isn't, it's usually because they're just not quite done with what they're doing. And we have our lives set up so we have the spaciousness to be able to engage with them in those last couple minutes of that activity, or find out what the transition is. Or maybe they need to pee and they want to go outside first and pee before they go in the car seat, or who knows what. But when we tune in, because we've let them know about the transition, as opposed to just like, cool, they're sitting and playing with something, we're picking them up, we're holding them, we're putting them in the car seat, we're not letting them know what's going on.
Yeah, and I think regardless of your lifestyle and regardless of, where you may have to be at a certain time, you can always communicate with a child regardless of their age. And we were just talking about this. We've talked about this before. It's like, maybe Ilya doesn't know everything we're saying right now, but if we're not doing it now, when do you do it? And so it's just a good thing to get into the habit of speaking to your child, not only around transitions, but just in general, and to speak to them with respect and to honor that they are a free being with autonomy, their own ideas of the world, their own desires, their own needs at any given moment, and to not just assume that because they're small and they don't speak back in the same language that we can just pick them up, move them around, and put them here and da-da-da-da-da. Because I think over time that has a long-term effect on human beings, and I think that's what we see from a lot of adults, is like some suffering based on not being treated as a human being, at a young age, with autonomy and with freedom and with different desires and different needs than that of our caregivers. They're not always going to overlap. And that doesn't mean necessarily that you have to do everything your child wants to do all the time. It means that you can have communication with your child as much as you possibly want to. And whether they fully understand it or not, there's an energetic exchange that's absolutely happening. Children are living in a more energetic field than we are. There's no question about it. They have this sense around energy that is just far beyond ours. It's far greater than ours. So even if they don't understand the words you're communicating, they understand how you're feeling about those words that you're communicating. And I think they feel honored, they feel seen, they feel cared for. And most of the time they feel excited to do what we want to do. They love following us around and participating in, you know, whatever the heck we want to do. So it's not a struggle. It's really never a struggle.
Yeah, and I love this piece around, like, if we don't speak with them about this now or talk to them about what's going on, then when does it begin? And I think that the sharing it is what helps them develop language and understanding. And I loved your example around hanging out with Ilya today. And I think one of the reasons they love doing this, transitions or hanging out with us, is because they're so included.
Yes.
And they know that. They've always known that. So if I'm in the kitchen with them and I'm like cleaning up, oftentimes they'll want to come up. They'll like let me know, I want to come up. I want you to hold me, or I want to be in the sink washing dishes with you, or I want to, like, we make stuff together all the time. And today, Connor went to the hardware store.
Yeah.
You were not only like telling them about transitions, you were also using language, and you were also involving them completely in what you were doing. So they weren't like an accessory to your activity. They were just as much a part of it as you were. Right.
And, you know, there's things that I know they don't understand in the same way that I do, like a measuring tape and the numbers on the measuring tape. But it doesn't matter. They were stoked to pull out that measuring tape, and they were stoked to, like, hear me read the numbers to them and, you know, talk about the pieces that we need in order to make this thing fit. And, let's go check this thing out, and let's go do this together. And it enhanced my experience.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I had such a great morning with my little buddy, you know, measuring stuff and getting the proper material that I needed. We had a blast. Yeah. And I know in other circumstances, a child could just have a bummer of a time going and going to the hardware store with you. It could just be like, oh, like, I don't want to be here. They don't want me here. I'm just an accessory. And I think we can relieve a lot of tension that comes up between the child-parent dynamic by treating them with respect. And it's got to start, you know, right from the beginning, because I mean, it can start any time. It's not like if you haven't been doing that and you want to change it, you can't now. You can please do. Anytime's a good time, but it's, I think, very powerful to just start out that way. Just, you know, when they come out of that womb, they're just this helpless little creature, and there's a lot of things we have to do for them. But it doesn't mean that we can't be communicating with them with compassion and understanding and attempting to understand how they understand the world and how they're communicating their needs and expressing their desires, and to collaborate.
Yeah.
That's what makes life fun, is relationships where we collaborate, you know? I don't want to be like telling people what to do all the time in my life. That's a bummer. So, you know, to work it out where it's a real relationship with your child. And I think that will create a good relationship throughout your entire life. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of hormonal changes they might be going through at 12, 13, 14 years old. I think that you can have that same collaborative relationship forever.
Yeah, I love this idea around non-authoritarian parenting. Really what that's saying is I'm co-creating with my child. And we co-create with Ilya all day long. And whether you see that as like negotiations or just like feeling it out together, they're so used to their needs being considered and our needs being considered.
Yes.
And it's like we're putting it in this pot together and together saying it's more fun to co-create than to create on our own. I'm not just having a child so that they'll do everything I want. I'm so excited about what Ilya wants to do. I'm learning to drum. I'm learning to spin poi because they want to do it, because I want to be a part of what excites them and they want to be a part of what excites me. It's like relationships, adult relationships as well. I think, like you said, it's the same thing. It's a continuum. And if we don't set it up as like the way to parent is to make your child do what you want to do, or even be the one who's like deciding what it's going to be like, but rather tuning in and feeling like Ilya is so tapped in, they're inspired. They're a channel for inspiration. So I feel really excited about getting on their level and understanding what it is that they're feeling as alive, because usually they're more tapped in than I am. And then I can have a lot more fun.
Absolutely. And again, you know, we've mentioned it before, but obviously there's like safety times when we have to intervene in a way because we want to protect our children. And I think there's a kind of a, what would you call it, like there's a lot of different types of ways of protecting a child, and
Totally.
I don't want to name those for you. I think working with your intuition makes a lot of sense, and we absolutely do that. Like if they are about to walk into a patch of poison ivy and they're super excited to play with poison ivy, I stop them and I let them know, like, that stuff is poison ivy and it's poisonous. It could cause a rash for you, and I really don't want you to get a rash. So I prevent them from doing that. That's like kind of obvious stuff, right? So we're not saying just let them do anything that they want to do, because there's some stuff that obviously is not going to be safe for them to participate in. But there is also a level of respect that you can give while moving your child, or encouraging them to do something different, or just flatly telling them, like, no, you can't do that thing because here's why, and explaining that. Because if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? It's a great time to do it. It's a great time to practice it. And, leading into adulthood, I think we want to set kids up to feel like they're in control of their own lives. They know how to take care of themselves, because I think a lot of people find themselves as adults really not feeling like they're able to care for themselves, and then they blame other people, they blame the world, they blame the government, they blame whoever is around that they can blame, because they're still in this sort of like childlike phase where they want someone else to take care of them, because perhaps they were overprotected and moved around a lot without given the responsibility to move on their own, so on, so on, so on. So that's like a deeper discussion.
That's
but
beautiful.
You know what I'm saying?
I love this discussion. Yeah, and so for this, just like final words on transitions, I think spaciousness and presence and communication is just like a great way to create excellent transitions within ourselves, and therefore with our children. And that does model that great behavior. Behavior is an interesting word. That does model just a great way to approach life, by having a lot of spaciousness around transitions, so that we can enjoy the process and not feel like we're rushing from thing to thing, or having to manipulate the world around us because we didn't create enough time for ourselves to smoothly flow into the next thing.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's what's up.
That's what's up.
Love you.
Love you.
See you soon.